Hi, thanks. You found part two. That's a good sign. That means you were interested in part one. Thanks for taking the time to proceed to part two. Now, I think objects that are bigger than slivers are maybe not mentioned, or obviously, um, you know, panic concern, they would not mention it. This was found beside the moon, myself, that I saw there a celestial object. Now, when I say beside the moon, obviously I'm talking in the field of view. And either way, guys, this object should not be appearing this big. I shouldn't be able to get the surface that well. It's a beautiful, large, um, what looks like a thick, flat-ish sliver of a mass proportion, pretty large. Why are we looking at this again today? And of course, every time we look at this, it's a different and enhanced view. We get closer, we get clearer shots. I had a lot of shots of this one. Many are calling it the Blue Kashina. I respect everyone's thoughts on all of these. There are many cultures coming here to interact with me on this channel, and I respect all of your beliefs. And quite frankly, I find um, theology absolutely beautiful. The different cultures. We're more the same than we think, guys. So I sort of overlooked this photo of this beautiful blue celestial object that I caught beside the moon a couple of weeks ago. Actually, probably over a month and a half ago, or maybe even two. But yeah, a moon beside it, or a smaller celestial object that did seem to be tagging along with this object that came into the field of view of my camera. So we're going to look a bit closer at this smaller object that was beside this blue celestial object, because this is pretty amazing that these objects appeared. And again, this was when all the objects were appearing a couple months ago. The Great Nebula of Orion, birthing stars, is the most amazing thing to me in space. I mean, think of it, guys. Stars are literally giving birth, but oh, these are spiraling galaxies in the constellation of Virgo. Oh, they're not very large, they're small, but hang on here. What is this in the constellation of Virgo? I have no idea what it is, but we see these platforms of light, these big spectrums, and often, whether it be the camera, whether it be anomalies, whether it be, um, I don't know what to say that it is. It's just this massive beam of light that spans across a very large area or in space. The same thing as Arcturus that we see in part one. It's just this massive plume of light. And here we're still in the constellation of Virgo. So many things to see. Think of it. This light that I just found in the constellation of Virgo, I did not see a name for it. I have no idea what it is. It is a red giant, that's for sure. Look at the fire in space, guys. Isn't that incredible? It is fire. It's a line of fire. It's, I don't know what to say. Why is there a line of fire in space? Look at that. Looks like something symmetrical that's over top of this giant star that's in the constellation of Virgo. So many spiraling galaxies in Virgo. Think of it, inside of that spiraling galaxy, if we were to zoom in with a high power telescope like a 14-inch or something, oh, that's what we'll do then. We'll look inside of these spiraling galaxies, and then I'm sure we'll see all the other stars that are inside of it. It's just absolutely mesmerizing. And somebody was asking me to get some constellation of Virgo up. So I said, yes, with pleasure. I do have some photos of the constellation of Virgo. And have you found any anomalies? They said, well, guys, this is a beautiful anomaly to me. It's actually very scary. You can see the sphere inside. And if we look close here, just this massive light of fire. And how high is it in space? I have no idea, but we can clearly see it does seem to be off the surface of this star. It's just absolutely incredible when you think of it. Here's a real close-up view of it to be able to see that fire. Can you imagine the heat? Can you imagine like what's causing it? What would cause a massive fire? to rise off the surface? Maybe a volcano? There's so many things that space can tell us by studying these photos and, of course, by studying and researching to find out how um, to calculate the temperatures of these stars, the atmosphere, to learn more about them. Thanks for listening, guys. So, we are inside of the constellation of Orion. I call these, well, they are blue supergiants, obviously. Neutron stars, whatever they may be, are denser than any other stars. Why do we see them green? Why do we see stars green at time? They say there are no green stars. They say that it's due to the reflection of another nearby star. For example, the blue and the red will create a green. And what is this? Hmm. Wow. This is the first object I've ever seen in the constellation of Orion that seems out of place. Finally, yes, I get to show you guys. It looks like, and I no, I'm just saying it looks like the blue object I had got that we saw at the beginning in part one, but I possibly think maybe not. It could be that it's not, but it looks like a very similar to it. Could be further out. This was many weeks before, so who knows? Either way, in the constellation of Orion, in the asterism, this object is floating around amongst the stars. Vega star. See, these stars are feeding off of these nebulae. First of all, maybe Vega comes from inside of this nebulae. This is the beautiful nebulae that's just underneath of the Vega star. And you could see what I love always referring to Mother Nature when I talk about these beautiful stars or creatures. The stars are connected in many ways to these nebulae. They thrive off the gases of these nebulae for some reason. Um, the umbilical cord from Vega to the nebulae underneath. This unknown object in the lower atmosphere that I found in 2017. We're talking 8 weeks ago, maybe 9 weeks ago. These are objects that are in a low enough atmosphere, and at one point, I was finding two or three a day for about a week and a half. They were plentiful. Meteors that I saw in the past month, I've seen over 12. Guys, I've seen over 12 meteors come into the atmosphere. Is that normal? I had only seen one ever before. One hell of a big one, actually, when I was living in St. Timothy, not far from here in Quebec. Absolutely stunning with the tail. Looked like a comet, actually. I mean, it could be many things. It was gigantic. Here, another beautiful celestial object. There are so many of them out there. So many objects, billions, billions of stars, billions of planets. These are in the Milky Way, straight up in the sky. Just look at the cloud. That's actually what they call it. The cloud. It's incredible, all the stars that are up there. There are celestial objects, but now on top of that, we notice that some of these objects are descending. It's scary. The surface of the moon, where I found these structures, where I found the cities, the straight walls, it's confirmed, guys, there are symmetrical structures on the surface of the moon. Now look at the same photo, but now zoomed out so that you can see it a lot more clearer. I'm pointing to the structures that are the same color basically as the base of the craters. So, they're hard to see. You really can hardly see them, but you know what? This was reminding me of something that crashed, when you look at the trail behind it. Maybe not, but an interesting speculation. Thanks a lot, everyone. These are the website and channel contributors. We have a beautiful growing family. More contributors. We have a new contributor. Welcome to the community. William Le Coquin Jr. or William Le Cochran Jr. I love that name. French or English, it sounds famous. Either way, thanks. Welcome, William. Thank you very much for contributing. Welcome to community, and please take a look at all the videos on the channel. You're very welcome to. Steve Olson and I interact on Tuesday nights, and when we can, we talk about the sky. Mr. Steve Olson.